The silencer on the gun was the only reason Elena didn't hear the shot. Elena Vance was in the break room of the luxury watch boutique where she worked as a sales associate. It was 9:30 p.m. The store had closed an hour ago, and she was frantically changing out of her stiff black blazer and into her second uniform, a red polo shirt with the golden arches stitched on the pocket. She had a night shift at McDonald's starting in 20 minutes, and she was already late. She grabbed her purse and pushed open the break room door, expecting to see an empty showroom. Instead, she froze. Through the glass display cases, she saw him. Adrian Sterling, the billionaire owner of the brand, who had stopped by for a surprise inspection. He was on his knees, blood running down his temple. Standing over him was a man in a tactical mask, pressing a gun with a long silencer against Adrian's forehead. Elena stopped breathing. She should run. That was the logical thing to do. She was a single mom barely making rent, working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. If she died, her 6-year-old son, Noah, went into the foster system. That thought alone usually kept her invisible, head down, scanning barcodes and flipping burgers. But then she saw Adrian's eyes. He wasn't looking at the gunman. He was looking past the display case, right at her. He didn't look arrogant or powerful like he usually did when barking orders at the sales team. He looked terrified. He looked like a man realizing he was about to take his last breath. "Where is the vault combination?" the gunman hissed. 5 seconds, Sterling. Then I paint the floor." Elena looked at the heavy, solid brass statue of a horse that was used as a doorstop next to her. She thought about Noah. She thought about teaching him that being good meant doing something when no one else would. She didn't run away toward the back exit. She grabbed the brass statue. "Before we continue, comment brave if you think you'd have the guts to step in, or smart if you would have run to call the police. If you believe that true heroes are the ones nobody expects, hit subscribe now." What Elena did next changed the course of history for everyone in that room. Elena kicked off her heels so she could move silently in her socks. She crept behind the counter. The gunman was focused entirely on Adrian. She didn't scream. She didn't hesitate. She swung the heavy brass horse with every ounce of strength she had from years of carrying sleeping children and heavy boxes of frozen fries. Crack. The statue connected with the back of the gunman's knee. The bone snapped with a sickening sound. The gunman roared, his leg buckling, and the shot went wild, shattering a $1 million display case. "Run!" Elena screamed at Adrian, grabbing a letter opener from the counter, a sharp silver blade. But the gunman wasn't out. He was down, but he was furious. He swept his good leg, knocking Elena to the marble floor. The letter opener skittered away. He pointed the gun at her face. "You dead witch," he growled. "No!" Adrian roared. He had lunged forward, not away. He tackled the gunman, driving his shoulder into the man's chest. They wrestled for the weapon. The gun slid across the floor. Elena scrambled on her hands and knees. She grabbed the gun. She stood up, her hands shaking so hard the weapon rattled. "Stop!" she screamed. "Or I swear to God I will shoot!" The gunman looked at her. He looked at the McDonald's uniform she was wearing. He laughed. "You don't have the guts, burger flipper." He lunged at Adrian, pulling a knife from his boot. Elena didn't think. She squeezed the trigger. The bullet hit the floor inches from the gunman's hand. It was a warning shot, but it was loud enough to deafen them all. The gunman froze. Sirens wailed in the distance. The silent alarm had been tripped. The gunman looked at the door, then at the gun in Elena's hand. He scrambled up, limping on his broken leg, and ran out the back exit. Elena dropped the gun. She collapsed onto the floor, hyperventilating. Adrian crawled over to her. He was bleeding from his head. He looked at her red polo shirt. He looked at the McDonald's logo. "You stayed," he whispered, looking at her like she was an alien. "Why did you stay?" "Because," Elena gasped, clutching her chest. "My son needs to know that his mom isn't a coward. And I really need this job." Then the adrenaline crashed, and the world went dark. Elena woke up in a private hospital suite that looked more like a 5-star hotel. Her head throbbed, but she was alive. Sitting in the corner, reading a file on a tablet, was Adrian. "Mr. Sterling?" she croaked. He stood up immediately. "Adrian, please, Mr. Sterling is my father." He poured her a glass of water. "I need to get to work," she said, trying to sit up. My shift at McDonald's. If I'm a no-show, they'll fire me. And I have to pick up Noah. Noah is in the playroom down the hall with a private tutor and about 50 pounds of Lego, Adrian said gently. I had him picked up. He's fine. And as for McDonald's, I made a call. You don't work there anymore. Elena felt panic rise in her throat. You got me fired? No, Adrian smiled, a genuine warmth reaching his eyes. I bought the franchise location. And then I accepted your resignation on your behalf. He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. I looked into your file, Elena. You worked 60 hours a week between the store and the restaurant. You haven't taken a sick day in 3 years. You're raising a son on minimum wage. I manage, Elena said defensively. You survive, he corrected. There's a difference. He placed the envelope on the bed. I fired my VP of sales this morning. He was the one who leaked the security codes to the gunman. The job is yours. It pays $200,000 a year. Full benefits. Day shift only. And it comes with a company car so you don't have to take the bus. Elena stared at the envelope. I don't know how to run a sales division. You sold me on your character in about 5 seconds last night, Adrian said. You have grit. You have loyalty. I can teach you the spreadsheets. I can't teach people to have a heart like yours. Elena took the job. Over the next 3 months, her life transformed. She moved Noah into a safe apartment complex. She bought reliable clothes. She saw her son every night for dinner. Adrian kept his word. He was a demanding boss, but he was fair, and he treated Elena not as a savior, but as an equal. He started joining them for lunch sometimes. He'd sit on a park bench with Elena and Noah, eating sandwiches, listening to Noah talk about space. For the first time, Elena saw the loneliness behind Adrian's wealth. He had no family, no one to trust, just people who wanted his money. You're the only person who ever wanted to save me for me, he told her one rainy afternoon, not for the reward. But the story wasn't over. The gunman, a mercenary named Kale, had escaped the police, and he wasn't happy that a sales clerk had humiliated him. It was a Tuesday. Elena was leaving the office to pick up Noah from school. She saw a van parked across the street. It looked out of place in the wealthy neighborhood. Her phone rang. Unknown number. We have the boy, a distorted voice said. Elena's heart stopped. What? The little boy. Noah. We picked him up from school 10 minutes ago. If you want to see him again, you bring Adrian Sterling to the old shipyard. Warehouse 4. Alone. No cops. Or the kid disappears. Panic, cold and sharp, flooded her veins. She didn't call the police. She didn't collapse. She turned her car around and drove straight back to the office garage. She ran into Adrian's study. He was on a conference call. He saw her face and hung up immediately. They have Noah, she choked out. They want you. Adrian didn't hesitate. He didn't call his security team. He stood up and grabbed his coat. Let's go. Adrian, they'll kill you, Elena cried. We need a plan. The plan is we get your son back, he said grimly. I'm not letting anything happen to that boy. They drove to the shipyard in silence. The air was thick with tension. When they arrived, the warehouse was dark. Elena saw Noah tied to a chair in the center of the room, looking terrified but unharmed. Standing behind him was Kale, the gunman from the store. The billionaire and the burger flipper, the man sneered. How touching. Let the boy go, Adrian said, stepping forward, hands raised. I'm here. I'm the one you want. I want you both to suffer, the man said, raising a gun. You ruined my reputation. Run to Noah, Adrian whispered to Elena. What? When I move, you run to him. Adrian didn't wait. He charged. But this time, he wasn't the victim tied to a chair. He was a man fighting for the only family he had left. He tackled the gunman. The gun went off bang, echoing through the metal warehouse. Elena screamed. She ran to Noah, shielding his body with hers, untying the ropes with shaking hands. Mom! Noah cried. Elena looked up. Adrian was on the ground, clutching his shoulder. Blood was seeping through his white shirt. The gunman was standing over him, aiming for the kill shot. Elena looked around. She saw a heavy iron chain hanging from a hoist nearby. She didn't think. She didn't calculate. She grabbed the chain and swung it with a primal scream. The heavy iron link smashed into the gunman's arm. The gun flew out of his hand. Adrian kicked the man's legs out from under him. He scrambled on top, pinning him down, punching him until he stopped moving. Sirens wailed in the distance. Adrian had triggered a silent alarm in his car before they entered. Adrian rolled off the attacker, gasping for air. Elena ran to him, ripping her scarf off to press against his shoulder wound. "You idiot!" she sobbed. "You could have died." Adrian looked at her, then at Noah, who was clinging to Elena's leg. He smiled, his teeth stained with blood. "You saved me once," he wheezed. "I had to return the favor." 6 months later, Elena stood on the balcony of Adrian's penthouse, not as a sales clerk, and not just as a VP. She was wearing an evening gown. Inside, a gala was taking place for the Noah Vance Scholarship Fund, a charity Adrian had started for children of single parents. Adrian walked out to join her. His shoulder had healed, though he still favored it when it rained. "You look beautiful," he said. "You look expensive," she teased. He took her hand. "You know, people still ask me why I promoted the girl from the sales floor." "What do you tell them?" "I tell them that I didn't promote a sales clerk," Adrian said softly. "I promoted the bravest woman I've ever met. And now, I'm hoping to promote her again." "To what?" "To partner," he said, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. "In life, and in everything else." Elena looked at the ring. Then she looked at Noah, who was inside eating hors d'oeuvres and laughing with the security guards. She realized that family isn't about blood. It's about who bleeds for you. It's about who stands in front of the gun when the world falls apart. "Yes," she whispered. "Some people say fairy tales aren't real. But sometimes, the knight in shining armor is a single mom with a brass statue, and the princess is a lonely billionaire who just needed someone to fight for him." If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and share it with a strong woman in your life. Comment fearless if you believe that a mother's love is the strongest force on earth. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. This is Elena's story. Be the person who swings the chain,